Welcome along to our first session here on Full-Time. Wonderful to have you all with us. So, first of all, I want to apologise for my croaky voice. It's been, it's not been too good, certainly over the last week or so. However, it's been able to struggle on. Today, here for you, just here on Full-Time. I want to send a shout-out, of course, going out to our sponsors, Racecrag Motors. They are down there on Grey Street. We welcome, first of all, Mr. Walker. What in the bro?
Yeah, good morning, Captain Keithy. Good morning, boys. Good morning, listeners. And hey, look, don't downplay your voice. It sounds better than ever. I mean, your voice is synonymous with Full-Time,
Sure.
so I must say, bro, get better because there's a lot of sick people out there. Before I forget and we get to the other boys, don't forget daylight saving starts tonight. So there you go. Or tomorrow morning.
Yes, indeed. Also joining us from up there in Paeroa, we have with us Reno Wilkinson. Morena, bro.
Yeah, morena, Keithy. Hope all gets well with you, my bro. And, hey, good to be back on Full-Time another Saturday. And another month just about gone, bro. Daylight savings. We'll be smelling the barbecues. I'll come around your place, have a few in there and barbecue with you, Keithy.
Absolutely. Also joining us from over in Australia somewhere, we have with us our man, JT, Jason Tawhiwhirangi. Morena, bro. Well, maybe he's not joining us.
JT's going walkabout.
Maybe he's not joining us. Perhaps he'll come join us a little bit.
Sorry. You couldn't hear the background noise. No, good morning, boys, and it's a somewhat subdued good morning this morning. Given what's about to unfold over the show and the news, you can break yourself, Keithy, but morning, Koto.
Okay, well, why not get straight into it and tell people that this will be the last Full-Time, certainly with me. As I've since resigned, my last day will be tomorrow. We've still got our podcast, so we've got all our Full-Time goodness that will be coming through to you. You can go onto our Full-Time Facebook page. We're also on iTunes, which will stay there for quite some time. Castbox, what else are we on? Spotify. Our last few episodes have been on Spotify. So Full-Time will still pretty much continue on in that particular vein. But
just without the biggest fool.
Yes, without one of the fools. It'll be less fool around here, I suppose. That's what I would say. As one of the originators of Full-Time, Mr. Al Walker, isn't that what you would say too?
Well, it takes the owl out of fool there, Keithy. You being the owl. So, a bit of a sad sort of occasion, I suppose you could say. I mean, it's been a tremendous journey and a long ride, and it's not over yet. But just giving you the heads up that the show wouldn't be the success it is without your valuable input as captain.
Thanks. I guess you're right about that. Anyway, let's get back into the sport. First off, Thames Valley there, Reno. What's their game today?
Yeah, big game, mate. They're down in Ashburton. The boys flew out yesterday, taking on Mid-Canterbury this afternoon, 2:30 kickoff. Mid-Canterbury haven't been going too good, but, they won't take them any lightly. They had a good win last Saturday, Paeroa Domain against White at Upper Bush. Got to say, man, the green and red all turned up. I was at the game, and they had a huge support travel on through as well. Actually, much one of the biggest supports I've seen for a long time with the Heartland team coming in to take on the Valley. Defending champs, there's a whole bunch of teams around. It's only like 1 point in it, and amongst a whole bunch of people playing for second, third, and fourth, and building up to the semis. But yeah, we'll get underway this afternoon, Mid-Canterbury, and we'll have South Canterbury at home next week in Paeroa, and then we'll see what happens there with the semi-finals. But yeah, the boys are going all good, mate.
Right, our team, Poverty Bay, of course, they go up against Horowhenua Kapiti down there in Waikanae today. Now, yesterday, of course, last week, our Poverty Bay boys, they actually went and defeated the Mid-Canterbury team that have showed up to Thames Valley. Hey, bro, so we're looking forward to that Horowhenua Kapiti game down there in down south there, Ra?
Oh, we are, Keith, and I tell you, look, Wooly Weaker's boys, they're on a bit of a roll at the moment, and hopefully the Reds can notch up another victory against Hurowhenua, but it's always quite a challenge playing away from home. But, they've got enough strike players in the side to actually pull off a win, another victory, and a good one. We've seen how they sort of play as a unit. When they're focused on getting the job done, it's like shut the gate material. But, in saying that, you never underestimate your opposition, no matter where they are on the ladder. And when they're always playing at home, it's usually kind of a different kettle of fish. So, no, it should make for an interesting match. But no, my money's on our boys.
Be an interesting one against Mid-Canterbury, 4 teams Valley, Reno. To be honest, Poverty Bay absolutely toes them up in their game here last weekend, bro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was good to watch some of that. I watched a fair bit of main freight grassroots Heartland Rugby as well. It's just good to see everyone getting out there, and good to see that on the old Sky TV. But yeah, Poverty Bay looked like they kind of hidden their straps at the right time, and wish them all the best. Valley boys, they're doing it tough, defending champs. They've been there or thereabouts against your boys first up and just lost at the end there.
Yeah.
Not close games, and that's what this tournament's kind of showed so far. There are some of those unions who have been dominant, but now have struggled. Whanganui, one of those, obviously. North Otago right at the top there. They'll be up there as a finalist, no doubt, I would guess. But anything is possible, as the Valley Boys set did last year. Achieved the unachievable, as some would say, against some of the top guns and beat them and brought home the Meads Cup. So, yeah, Heartland Rugby pretty well in there, but we'll see what the Valley Boys can do today.
I mean, the Valley Boys, though, like you said, they're at least up there with the top 4 at the moment, aren't they? Yeah. Which is always a good position to be in.
Oh, totally. A good close competition when you see points like that. So it may come down to maybe bonus points. Last week's game, White Upper Bush got their penalty right on full time, and they got them the 1 point, which Valley didn't need to let go. But that's just the nature of the game, mate, and just get out there and go hard.
Now, JT, your favourite rugby team, East Coast, they go up against West Coast, who are at the top of the table today. That game up in Ruatoria there, bro?
Yeah, it's all about breaking the duck, ending the winning streak, losing streak this year for East Coast. 5 years, nearly 6 years without a win. So hopefully the boys, under the guidance of Troy Putter and Wade Ensor, can get them across the line. It'll be a good crowd there at Whakarua Park. I'd love to see myself and cheer the boys on, but West Coast is a league area, so come on, Coasties, give it to them.
and just also, the legendary Ron Tamatea, of course, Poverty Bay's legendary Ron Tamatea, his son will be playing in that game, actually for West Coast, Kahu Tamatea. He's playing for West Coast in that particular game. Apparently he's been playing his club rugby over in West Coast during the season, and obviously... is good enough to play first-class rugby, and he plays his 100th first-class game up there in Ruatoria. So that's also going to be something special, and for Kahu to kind of do something, well, at least kind of come back home to do that, JT?
Absolutely, of course, Ron, one of the... stalwarts of club rugby. I'm pretty sure he played almost till he was 50 for YMP in the local competition here in Gisborne. But big ups to Kahu. Played his 100th game, and if I was ever play 100 games for someone, we want to be at Whakarua Park.
Yes.
not too good.
True enough. And I tell you what, I think now I'm not sure. I can't say I saw him Ron play this season, but I'm pretty certain he was playing last season. I mean, he might have even been playing this season. So. I mean, just an absolute stalwart, Ron, Ra.
Oh, look, Ronnie's a legend, and, I could be wrong, but I think he's made a few record books. But good to see the Kahu coming back home, and no doubt a lot of the whānau will be heading up to that match to show their support for West Coast. And as JT said, it is a very strong rugby league area down the South Island there. But no, it's the clash of the coasts, and the red and whites versus the blue and white. So a lot of the whānau in the East Coast team, they're no doubt going to be sort of gunning for Kahu, as we do when there's a local boy that comes home. It'd be like JT if he represented Australia, which he never will, and he came back to play us, we'd sort of be marking him left, right, and centre. But that's just the nature of the beast, and good luck to both teams. But I I hope the coast can sort of strike up another victory. We need them to get a few more wins under their belt.
Well, they need to. Well, they need to get a win under their belt. Actually, I mean, they, they still need, and this is one of the top teams in the competition at the moment. They still need to, they've got. It's a long road ahead of them. Certainly, what do you reckon, Aira?
Yeah, it will be, and it's one of those sort of it's one of those things. You take every weekend as it comes, and it's not mathematics. The more you win, the closer up the table you are, and vice versa. So a lot of these games have still got a lot of meaning for a lot of these teams in the Heartland competition. So and look, they're really full on matches to watch too. So hopefully they get a good crowd up there. The way the weather conditions are, I think they will. And it's been in Rugby World Cup sort of time. Rugby's sort of pretty much hot at the moment. So get out there and show your support for whichever team.
Well, certainly get a good crowd up there, that's for sure. But what about the Rugby World Cup? How's things been going in the Rugby World Cup there, Reno?
Yeah, pretty good, mate. Just seemed to be marred, obviously, with a lot of cards. It's what it is, and we talked about this earlier in the pieces up prior to the tournament. Some of the cards are going to see the demise of some of the teams, and obviously one of those midweek was, we didn't see this coming. We thought the Fijians were going to beat the Wallabies in the opening round, but Uruguay, emotions at the end by the captain, a 30-27 win. So he's one of the highlights of recent. For their nation, and mate, to knock that over the Fijians, and there was a lot of talk around the Bulla Bulla boys, but you can't take it away. There'll be some close games, some pretty good games. I haven't watched a hell of a lot, obviously, because of, why with Spark and everything like that, and I don't want to get into that little hooey in that debacle. But, mate, I'll catch up on Wednesday, I think, and watch the All Blacks in Canada.
Yeah, true. Having said that, for Fiji, it was going to be pretty tough, having just come off playing the Aussies, and then, less than a week, within just a few days, they were having to prepare for another team. And Uruguay, obviously, they're not a team to be sniffed at, are they, Reno?
No, exactly right. And this is any team things could happen. Look, we talked the Canadians. They're not a bad rugby team, but they got hammered by the Italians, 48-7. Didn't see that coming. England, not too flash. A lot of cards in that game against the Americans. America's always going to struggle with the game, but England wasn't the best performance. They got a few injuries. Obviously, today the Argentinians need to redeem themselves after their loss to France. The Pumas should win that, but they'll get hammered around with the Tongas today. Japan, host nation against Ireland. You pretty well know that result, but Japan can knock over any big fish that's shown previously in other tournaments. And also, talking about the team that knocked over, South Africa will take on Namibia. The Africans should get the bonus on that game. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it was an interesting game, USA and England. Boy, it was pretty fiery, that game, from the highlights that I've seen, eh?
Yeah, it was. The Yanks throw everything into it. They come to play with passion, and, even... not that often we'll get behind the Yanks, but, we want them to knock over the Poms, and they've got a few concerns going on in their team as well. Things haven't been going too flash for Eddie Jones, bit scratchy in the tournament, but it's only pool playing. They should get through to the quarters, like some of the big nations seem to be folding out as it does, and we'll see what happens. If it does work out mathematically, it will look like South Africa might have the hard haul here, especially up against Ireland. It's looking like they could take on Ireland in the quarters. For us, we'll take on Scotland if it works out that way. But it's early days yet, mate. We've got a few more weeks before we can talk quarterfinals.
Right. Have you been watching much of the World Cup of late, bro?
About as much as most people have been given, the issues and controversy around Spark's sort of commitment. But the games I have seen have been quite intriguing and to be expected from, World Cup competition. But, one of the upsets was, of course, that Uruguay game. And to use your pun, Kesey, which I should pay you royalties for it, they carved it up Fiji. And so much so that if you know much about soccer, apparently it's Uruguay's national game, but one of their great players, who I know less about, but I have heard his name, is Luis Suarez or something. he actually wrote a headline praising up their national rugby team for that win against Fiji. So, it's like most codes, it transcends sporting differences, and it's always good to see that, and good for rugby when you do get countries where it's not their traditional national sport do well. It just promotes the game itself within that nation. So, no, good on Uruguay, but not to be for some of the other lesser-known countries. They've still got a long road ahead of them. I always maintain the fact that if the USA, the Eagles, had more African-American gridiron players